I kind of I admire commitment and a decision to start preparing early. That's why I feel truly we should not deprive you the privilege of getting to do something today. So I'm going to be introducing you to the IGCSE syllabus,
Okay.
right? So that you can have a work breakdown structure, like, you know, when you have a bulk of work to do, you try to break it down into bits, right? So that you can easily achieve your aim. So I'm not just going to be showing you the syllabus, which which is something I feel you might also be able to lay your hands on do, but then I'm going to be helping you do a work breakdown structure. I'll be helping you with a work breakdown structure. So
Okay.
I believe you can see my screen already, right?
Yes.
And so when you look at my screen, you discover that I've done some work on the syllabus. This is just in a bit to break it down more and more, you know. And so this is the blueprint of the examination. It means that if you can know everything here well and balance up with past papers, you are very good for the exams. And now that you have enough time, ample time, of course, one thing is very glaring about you. That's the fact that you are not a procrastinator. Like, you do not procrastinate. And that's a very good thing, because they say procrastination is a thief of time. You know, right? You say, I'll do it today, I'll do it today. Sorry, you say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. And you're thinking that tomorrow is 2026, 2026, right? And then it
Yes.
looks like a distant time, it looks like a long time from now, but you just be very surprised that 2026 is here already. You can imagine May, June 2025 is gone already. We are talking about October, November 2025. And before you know, time flies again, and 2026 is here, October, November. So like I said, you are not overdoing. This that you're doing now is making your success certain, right? Making it certain, your A star, making it certain. So these are the topics, IGCSE, and of course, you must have started treating some of these topics, and if not all. And so, like I said, the work breakdown structure. So I did something, divided the topics into branches. So you have cell biology, and under cell biology, we have about 4 topics there. Topic number 2, which is basically talking about cell and how cells are organized into tissue into system, into organ into system, right? 3 talks about movement into and out of cells. 3 is still talking about cells, how substances move in and out of cells by osmosis, by diffusion, active transport. 4 talks about biological molecules. Biological molecules are components of cells. There would be no cells without biological molecules. When we talk about biological molecules, the biological molecules are proteins, carbohydrates, nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, and lipids. These are the 4 common biological molecules that we talk about at both IGCSE and A level. So you see that when you talk about biological molecules like proteins, which are found in almost all cell parts, you find proteins in the cell membrane, you find proteins in the cytoplasm, you find proteins in ribosome. Ribosome is made of proteins, even though ribosome makes proteins. Ribosome is also made of protein in itself. You find you find protein in all cell organelles, right? Yes, in all cell organelles, you find one protein or the other, whether as a part of the cell membrane of the organelle or as an enzyme that works in the organelle. Organelles are made of enzymes, and enzymes are proteins, which means enzymes are biological molecules too, right? So you see, when you talk about biological molecules, you are still talking about cell biology, still revolves around cell biology. Enzymes, which are biological molecules, which function in and outside cells, also can be talked about in cell biology. So you already have this idea. So whenever you talk about uh, cell biology, these 4 topics should come to mind. And you are able to marry the 4 topics together. Yeah, that's the idea. That you can marry the 4 topics together. So that means you've already been able to compress 4 topics into one out of 21. So the next one is taxonomy. Taxonomy is the biology of classification, putting the many different living things that we have, putting them into groups or order, where we have species, kingdom, right? So that's just one topic. That one has just one topic there, which is topic 1. We'll get to talk about the characteristics of living things and their classification. Then ecology. Ecology talks about living things and their environment. That's what ecology is all about, living things and their environment. So ecology covers 19 and 20. Organisms and their environment, human influences on ecosystem. So organisms and the environment, talking about biotic factors, abiotic factors, food chain, right? That's how organisms fit into their environment and how organisms interact with the non-living component of the environment. Talk about the different components of an ecosystem. We have decomposers, we have consumers, we have pests, pathogens, producers. Then human influences on ecosystem, that still has to do with ecology. Human influences like pollution, human activities like farming, like washing of clothes, industrial activities, all these actually uh, bring about pollution of the environment. Farming, humans farm, apart from polluting the environment, farming as a human activity also leads to loss of habitats. Farmers clear large expanse of land, and you know, in the course of doing that, they destroy um, the habitat of living organisms, right? So you see, those 2 topics are just talking about living things and their environment. Then the next one is genetics and evolution. Genetics is the study uh, uh, of genes, the study of inheritance rather of genes, study of inheritance of genes, study of inheritance of traits. Traits can be passed from parent to offspring through genes. So in genetics, we get to talk about topics like inheritance, how offspring inherit traits from their parent. We get to talk about variation and selection. Yeah, even so after offspring have inherited genes from their parent, we get to see how offspring or members of a species don't get to look like themselves. That's variation. They don't get to look exactly like themselves. We see one or two differences between members of a family. We see one or two differences between members of a species, right? So that's variation. Then selection, talking about how the environment favors some organisms for survival based on the kind of traits they have inherited from their parents, natural selection. There are some offspring that have inherited some unfavorable genes or alleles. They have inherited some unfavorable versions of genes from their parents. So they turn out to be weaker uh, offspring compared to their other counterparts who have inherited uh, favorable versions. Let me give you a good example of what I'm talking about. We have sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is a genetic disease, and a child that has sickle cell anemia has just inherited the wrong uh, alleles for that gene from his uh, parent. That's why the child has sickle cell anemia. So the child does not have sickle cell anemia because the child did not eat the right type of food in its mother's womb. The child has sickle cell anemia because the parent passed down wrong versions of genes or wrong forms or bad forms of genes of a gene to that child. And because that child has inherited a bad version of a gene, that particular bad gene makes the child less adapted, makes the child weak, less adapted to the environment. So the environment can eliminate such a child. The environment has uh, factors in place that can eliminate such a child. And one of those factors is the disease, sickle cell anemia, that can eliminate such a child. Right? So you see, that child is at a disadvantage compared to a child that has inherited the right version of the gene from the parent. The child who has inherited the right version of the gene from the parent will not have the disease. So the child will be selected for survival by the environment. That's selection. That's what we have under genetics and evolution. 21 still, evolution has to do with um, the emergence, the appearance of new species coming from old species. You know what evolution is telling us is that there is always an improvement in the anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and morphology of organisms. When I say anatomy, I'm talking about internal structures like our liver, our kidney, the structure of the study of the structure of these organs is anatomy. The study of their functions, when we're talking about their function, the function of these internal organs, that's physiology, or the function of our body function, that's physiology. Biochemistry is concerned with the genes, the structure of the genes, the proteins in our body, the enzymes, right, in our body. And so we see we are not the way, when we look at evolution, the aspect of evolution, they are not the way we used to be at some time ago, right? We are not the way we used to be now. It's changing, right? So we are seeing some changes as a result of evolution. Okay. So I was saying that for evolution, that it talks about the fact that there are new forms of life that emerge from old form. That's for evolution. And it still has something to do with the genetics of the organism. Changes in genes will lead to changes in the physical structure, because genes are responsible for the way we look. So you see, genetics and evolution are together. So when we look at topic 17, 18, as well as 21, 21 is just talking about one or two manipulations that can be done with our genes, with our DNA, with DNA in organisms to produce certain types of organisms that have some advantages, and also to produce certain types of substances that are useful to, especially to humans, that can be used to improve our agriculture, medicine, like drug making, right? In medicine, talk about drug making, food, yeah, food and nutrition, yeah, treatment of diseases like diabetes, right, like hemophilia. So biotechnology and genetic modification talks about this um, human uh, quest or endeavor to manipulate genes, manipulate DNA, especially produce proteins, right? And so it still falls under genetics and evolution because it has to do with genes. Now, you would observe that the last part has the highest number of topics. And as far as biology is concerned, you see these two branches, they are the core of biology: anatomy and physiology. In fact, we can almost say that there will be no biology without anatomy and physiology. I said before now that anatomy is the study of structure. Physiology is the study of function. So whenever you hear anatomy, whether in medical science, anywhere you hear anatomy in life science, it has to do with studying internal body structures, like the skeleton, the muscle. You want to study the structure of the muscle so that so that we understand how the muscle works. We want to study the structure of the kidney so that we understand how the kidney works. We want to study the structure of the liver so that we understand how the liver works. We want to study the function, we want to study the structure of the testis, the structure of the ovary, the structure of the oviduct, right? You see, so that is where we now start having or start talking about, those organs collectively, they form a system. That's when we start talking about systems, like the study of systems like transport system, excretory system, respiratory system. You see, each system has a particular function it performs. The function is physiology. So when we are studying the structure, it's anatomy. So you see what there's something called structure function relationship in biology, especially in your IGCSE exam. There are many questions that will test structure function relationship. For instance, you can come across a question that says you should explain how a sperm cell is able to carry out its function, or can be given even a cell like a root S cell and ask you how the root S cell is adapted to carry out its function. Look at the sperm cell. Say, how is this sperm cell adapted to carry out its function? That's talking about structure. An understanding of the structure of the sperm cell helps you to know how this sperm cell is adapted to carry out its function. If you do not understand structure, you will not be able to understand function. So like I said, under anatomy, we have a good number of topics, as you can see here. And anatomy, I mean under anatomy and physiology. Anatomy and physiology, like I mentioned, they are the core aspect of biology. Yes, we say biology is basically divided into botany and zoology, right? Botany is the study of plants, while zoology is the study of animals. But we still get to do what? We get to do plant anatomy, plant physiology, animal anatomy, animal physiology. In fact, you need to understand these two aspects very well to be able to grasp these as other aspects or these other branches well. When it comes to classifying organisms, you want to classify organisms using their anatomy and their physiology, as well as their biochemistry and their morphology. Biochemistry talks about their genes, their cells, their biological molecules. Morphology talks about their physical appearance, what they look like, right? Like for instance, when you look at humans are mammals, right? And as mammals, we have hair on our skin, we have uh, hair on our skin, we have pinna. All these are external features that contribute to our physical appearance. Hair on the skin, pinna, right? Look out for other features like the shape of the head, the shape of the nose. All these contribute to our physical appearance, our morphology.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at igeltech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. It's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well. and also for the edexcel. So we have for the Cambridge E-levels and edexcel E-levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E-level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time, even physics, for E-level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at gmail.com, and they will reply to you.
But we're saying that most importantly are the anatomy and physiology of living organisms. So you see, I have helped you with a work breakdown structure of 21 topics rather, into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches. Yes, this is the branch that has the highest number of topics. And the moment you come here, you would be able to identify those topics that fall under a particular branch. Very easy. You see plant nutrition. Nutrition is a function. And if nutrition is a function, it means that there must be a structure behind the function. And what's the structure? Digestive system. The digestive system here, we talk about digestive system in human nutrition, right? Because humans are animals, and animals have to digest food. But when it comes to plant nutrition too, there will definitely be a system, a structure that produces food. Of course, and when we talk about plant nutrition, we want to talk about photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a function, but there has to be a structure in place that performs photosynthesis. So we'll be looking at the palisade mesophyll cells. That's at the cell level. We'll be looking at stomata, palisade mesophyll cells, stomata, airspace, and all these are found where they are found inside a leaf. So the leaf is the structure. It's important to study the structure of the leaf, go into the leaf, like look at the internal structure of the leaf, right? That's anatomy already. When you're looking at the internal structure of the leaf, you're already looking at anatomy. How the leaf enables the plant to carry out photosynthesis, right? Then you talk about human nutrition. That's another one under it. Human nutrition, digestive system. Talk about transport in plants. Transport in plants, transport is a function. So that means there has to be a transport system. And there's a transport system in plants where we have xylem, phloem, right? Making up this transport system. Transport in animals. There's a transport system in animals where we have the heart, the blood vessels, right? This is another one that falls under anatomy and physiology. We have diseases and immunity. Diseases and immunity. We have diseases and immunity. Immunity is a function. There has to be a system that takes care of it, that takes care of this function. And we know this system that takes care of this function also helps to get rid of diseases. So we study diseases with our immune system, and the immune system offers immunity, a function. The immune system, a structure, anatomy, offers immunity, a function. When we talk about gas exchange in humans, we're talking about the respiratory system. Respiratory system that helps to absorb oxygen. And if you look at the respiratory system also extends to respiration. Yeah, but the respiration that is referred to here will definitely be about what takes place in the cell. So these two topics here, they are even one. Yeah, because one is external respiration, the other one is internal respiration. So this respiration here is what happens at the cell level. This one is what happens at the organism level. The organism absorbs oxygen. Oxygen goes into the cell to break down glucose. Excretion is a function. There's a system, excretory system, that takes care of it too. So you see, coordination and response are functions. There's a system, coordination system, nervous system, endocrine system that takes care of these functions too. Right. Now we'll talk about drugs. Drugs are substances that can affect how the body functions, physiology. You see, so when you talk about drugs too, you should talk about drugs in physiology, because drugs are chemical substances that affect the body function. Reproduction is a function. There's a reproductive system that takes care of this function. And I guess that should be that's the last topic on that, anatomy and physiology. So you see, if you can sit down to address this syllabus using this work breakdown structure, it's going to really help you make the work easy, and not just easy, make your study effective and efficient. Yes, it's going to make it effective and efficient, and you have a very high guarantee of an A star at the end of the day. So what is left now is to use this syllabus with your course book and past papers for thorough work, thorough reading, and thorough uh, um, evaluation. Then with other aids that you can get, right? With other aids, the other aids will be to leave no stone unturned. You're not giving any chances. You don't want to leave any stone unturned. You want to ensure that you achieve your aim. So when I say other aids, like private tutorials too, that will help achieve your aim completely at the end of the day. So I think that does it, right? Okay, so eventually we have someone joining again at the, I don't know when you joined, but I guess you were able to learn from the little I said. So maybe I will just do a quick recap because of you. So this is the syllabus, the IGCSE syllabus with the topics. Right, so you have 21 topics, and I said this is a work breakdown structure, for you to be able to have it easy, and not just easy, but also effective. So you have the topics divided into branches. I divided into branches for you. So you have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches into which all the chapters have been divided. And so when you count from here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me do the counting again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 topics. So all the 21 topics have been captured here in the work breakdown structure for you. So I do hope this helps.
Yes. Thank you.